For those that know me, I flew MH-47s in Afghanistan quite a bit. I want to say the highest infill tactically I ever did for an element was around 14,000 feet. We crossed peaks much higher than that and all that kind of stuff. But you know, uh, you were you were part of a rescue that I believe is probably the world altitude rescue record. Can you talk about that?
I uh, I believe that myself, Scott Backes, and Alex Lowe were on the Chinook, piloted by a guy named Bill Barker, who's part of the Sugar Bears in Fairbanks, um, uh, where we landed to initiate a rescue on Denali in Alaska at 19,500 feet on the foot.
19,500.
Yeah.
So first of all, not only that's some precision flying. Just if you know how thin the air is up there, so God bless to him because I because
Oh,
I've been there.
and really, I mean, the circumstances of the day are total shit. Because there were three people that needed rescuing, and one of them died in the process because of some uh, aircraft and bureaucratic malfunction early in the day. And but flying around, eventually when the Chinook got to us, I mean the basic setup is that uh, my partner Scott Backes and I, we were on patrol. So you go every year, not every year, but a couple of years, we went up and volunteered for the Park Service. So you sit at the 14,000 foot camp on Denali. You're acclimatized. You're a good climber. You can provide rescue services or help people out all over the mountain, and you're there basically for a 3 week period, month long patrol. Got a 2 day workup. Get onto the mountain, go up. You're there, and we had done a couple of rescues. One of them pretty fucking horrible. That was not a rescue. That was a recovery. And we were done. We were out in Talkeetna. Alex Lowe was out in Talkeetna. We had the Monday. This is a Friday when this happened. The Monday prior, we had all run to the top of the Denali from the 14,000 foot camp, up and back. For a long time, I think we had the upper West Rib speed record, something like 5 hours to get to the top, and less than 10 hours round trip. We passed these Spanish dudes at 16,000 feet on the Monday. Tried to talk to them. They were looking kind of lightly dressed, etc. Weather stays stays okay for a day or two. Then there's a storm, whatever. Meantime, our patrol's over. We fly out. We're hanging in Talkeetna, drinking. And these guys get in trouble at around 19,000 feet. And they're Europeans, they're Spanish. Their only communication device they have with them is a little ECOM FM radio. Those are frequencies not monitored in the US. That's a European rescue service thing. US Park Service at that time is issuing CB radios. So these guys are calling for fucking help. And nobody's hearing them. Finally, some ham radio operator somewhere a long ways away in Alaska, he picks up this call, finds someone who understands Spanish, and eventually calls the Park Service and goes, "I think you have a problem on Denali, on Mount McKinley." And this is what we were able to determine, that there's three guys. There's pretty high on the mountain. They're on the south face somewhere. Park Service goes into full crazy mode, and my friend Daryl Miller is the chief mountain climbing ranger at the time, and he comes and he goes, "Hey, we might have a situation. You guys are acclimatized. We might need to put you on a bird and get you in and help these dudes. We need to go find some stuff out." And I'm just like, "Is it those?" And they tell us who it is, and I go, "Holy shit! It's those dudes we saw 5 days ago." They were lightly, they didn't have hard shell pants. They had, because they had climbed a 20,000 foot peak in Ecuador. It's on the equator. Of course it's warmer. Of course the air is thicker at the equator than it is closer to the poles. All of these things. And I said, you should put they had a llama on contract. So 2-passenger bird. And they said, you should put, me or Scott or Alex in that machine and take one of us up there and drop us off. And we will liaise with these dudes and we can figure out what's going on. And they said, no, what we're going to do is go lower them. We're going to fly up there. We're going to lower them bottles of hot water, a stove with fuel in it. We're going to lower a couple of sleeping bags and a radio so we can talk to them. And I said, "Do you have a Spanish speaker?" A, but B, that's like you. This is put one of us down, we can solve it. They said, no, we will never drop one person out on the mountain, put them at risk like that. And I was like, you seen what we fucking do up here, man.
Right.
Like this is, and so they go, no, we're going to do it our way. And we're, all right, well, fly us into base camp. So if you get good at least, if you get good info, then we can react quickly. And so we flew into base camp. They flew the llama up. And I'm just like, okay, there's no helicopter protocol. These guys aren't going to know what to do when this bag appears from the sky, right? So bird goes over. They lower the bag out. It's on a line, and the one guy, is in there managing it. So it's on a line. It's got a big heavy steel locking carabiner on the end, plus the duffel bag. The bag gets down there. They unhook the bag before the dude can drop the weight it into the rope, throw it out of the bird. They let go of the rope down there. So the rope with the steel carabiner gets sucked up into the main rotor, hits one of the blades, goes backwards, wraps around the tail boom, pinning the cables to steer the machine. So now, cable pilot, whatever, lands in extremis on the Peters Glacier where no one is. Like he didn't get back to 14 where you can get another bird in, etc. They go down there and they fucking land and unfuck the rope from the back, do a full check. They're like, okay, well, the bird's operation, we can get back to Talkeetna, but now it has to undergo a class something inspection before we can actually put any passengers on it anymore. All of a sudden, the rescue helicopter's out of the scene, mission. They call the Sugar Bears in Fairbanks to get a Chinook, and it's minimum 3-hour scramble time. So all of a sudden, now we're down for the day, waiting. These 3 dudes are up there, and they're kind of communicating with them about what's going to happen. We gotta wait now. We got this other aircraft that's going to come. During the day, one of these guys are super fucked up and altitude sick. They've got massive cold injuries, frostbite situation. This one guy walks around on the ledge that they had chopped out of the snow. I mean, the tent platform they had was, you could tell that when they made it was fucked up. It was angled and not in the good direction. So during the day, guy named Kevin Morgan, who's a climbing ranger, was on the spotting scope. These guys are super far away. We can't see them with the naked eye. They're on the spotting scope, and he all of a sudden he just starts doing the wide world of sports commentary of like, oh fuck, oh no, stop, self-arrest, oh shit, oh not the rocks. And we're all just standing there.
Like what's going on?
By what's going on. So this dude is like basically tripped, walking around on the ledge and fallen 3,500 vertical feet.
Oof.
He's tumbling down this snow slope, full view of like 300 people sitting at the 14,000 foot camp because it's main peak climbing season. And this dude cartwheels down and dives, basically a little over a quarter mile outside of that camp. And then I'm pissed. Like, if you had dropped one of us off, this would not have happened. The guy who's the superintendent of that park, nominated himself incident commander with no fucking experience at all. He had no idea what he was doing. He's a bureaucratic hire. He didn't come up through ranks of being a climber, an outdoor person, whatever, but he puts himself in charge because that's the cool thing. And I'd already had some conflict with this guy in the past because of that. So we wait. Sugar Bears show up with the Chinook, drop the fuel blivets off and everything. And then we're like, all right, let's go find these dudes. And so the 3 of us get and we have barely enough gear. We're like, okay, we're going to take 2 or 3 ropes. We're going to fix them from above, go, on the descent to these guys. We're going to get them out and up the ropes back to the football field where you're going to come pick us up.
Right.
So start flying around. And we barely have enough gear. We could stay overnight one night. We could easily also, because we're mobile, we could be down at the 14,000 foot camp where there's medical tent and all this infrastructure. So we were very light going in. Bird takes off. We fly around. It's north wind, so fly and so there's a big. The south face of Denali is like 9,000 feet. The rotor on the leeward side was
A little close.
it was excessive. So the pilot like goes into it, and we're just getting buffeted around and all, because it's all the turbulence off the backside of that of the
turbulence, thin air, fun times.
Yes. And the guy's like, man, well, we can't get through that rotor. We're going to have to come in for a downwind landing. We're going to have to come in from the north. We're too heavy to do that. We gotta burn some fuel. It's probably gonna be like 30 or 45 minutes. I'm like, no, we need to fucking get there now. Can't you just dump fuel? I'm in the back. I'm in the one. Scott and Alex didn't have headsets on, and so I'm talking to the pilot up front, and I asked him about dumping fuel, and he goes, no, you dump fuel out of a bird like this, get sucked into the turbine, and then there's a big fireball, and I just go, let's take a scenic flight.
Let's take a flight.
Let's take a flight. So we fly around a bunch and make one pass at the downwind landing. Airspeed is pretty fucking high. And at that point, there was a conversation up front between the pilot and the co-pilot, and the pilot's asking the co-pilot, he's like, hey, what do you think? And the other guy says, I don't know, man. What do you think? This is when I remove my headset.
That's rule number one to operators. When they start hearing shit like that, unplug.
Unplug. I don't need to know more. If we're so it ended up coming in for this downwind landing. The machine is equipped for winter. It doesn't have skis on it, but they're pretty big foot pads to give decent flotation when it lands in the snow. Kind of acted like skis. We probably had 75 to 100 yards of skid coming in, and then the bird stops. And I have a big print at home. There was a C-130 from the 210th Air Guard flying cover, and the picture at home. The Chinook is on the football field. The summit of Denali is right there, 300 feet, a couple hundred feet above us, and then the three of us are running out of the back.
Running out of the back, and
we run over to where it gets steep, start fixing ropes to get down to these guys. And we get there. The two of them are alive. One of them's ambulatory. The other, we're not sure what's gonna happen. But we have the means to get enough horsepower to get them out. We start going, get them all hooked up to the fixed line that we had put in, and we're trying to talk to them. I'm fluent in French. They have no English. We can kind of, being a Latin-based language, Spanish and French, we're close enough that we could kind of communicate that we're fucking going up and you're coming with us. They want to know where their friend is, and we said, he's waiting down below. You'll see him in the future.
Right.
Not totally a lie, but also you can't tell them the whole truth. Start going up. The guy who we were concerned about fucking collapses. And now we're like, we can't haul this guy. We can't build a 4-to-1 or whatever, or 5-to-1 and drag this guy up the slope. The friction's going to be too great. And Alex Lowe just goes, fuck it, take my pack. I'll just carry him. We're at like 19,300 feet at this point. I mean, Alex was a physical specimen. I mean, one of the fittest guys. I mean, and I was talking about this with Kyle last night. I was like, yeah, the biggest pull-up workout I ever saw him do was 400 in a day in sets of 50.
Damn.
First 4 sets of 50 doesn't even look like he's fucking working. I mean, the guy was a machine. He's like, his nickname was the lung with legs. And he could do the endurance stuff. He was incredibly strong, really good rock climber, really good high altitude climber. A peer of mine, also a hero. And further cementing the legend. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna kneel down. You put this guy on my back, piggyback style, and I'll just carry him and move the ascender up the rope, so we're not gonna fall off. Scott and I work get the other guy in between us. We start dragging him out, and Alex is just piggybacking this dude up the 200 vertical feet until we got to flat ground, and that guy was able to start walking again. And so there's a picture in my book, Extreme Alpinism, of that Alex with the dude on his back. And now, success. We were still a bit far away from, and the helicopter's not waiting. They had to take off. They had to go get fuel, et cetera, and they timed out. So regulations were they can't come back and get us. It's it's June time frame, so it's still light out. You know, like we basically there's a couple of hours of dusk only, and I'm like, well, we can't get these guys. We can get down to 17, but these dudes are going to die if nobody comes back. And the pilots basically say, fuck the regulations. We dropped them off. They've saved these 2 dudes' lives. We're going to get them. They come back. The machine's completely out of oxygen. So the pilots and the 2 guys in the back, nobody's breathing O's anymore. They come back. We get these guys on board. One of them goes into shock. They take off from 19.5. Fly us down to Talkeetna directly at 300 feet above sea level. Total fucking change.
Oh yeah.
Because these guys, they've got cold injuries. Their fingers are frostbitten like fucking. Like I've never seen. Their toes are gone. We know some of this because we could see their hands. One of the guys we got to him, he didn't have mittens on. Fingers are fucking black.
He's done.
They're done. But as we start getting lower and the oxygen content goes up and they start getting super animated and they're asking about their friend, we still don't want to tell them.
Right.
That it's kind of because we're in this confined space and who knows. Land, get out. And Scott had given one of the guys his mittens. The guy that didn't have gloves on, gave him his mittens. Somebody comes over from the Park Service and informs them that their friend was dead, and they'll bring his body out. And before they get on the fixed wing to fly to Anchorage, the hospital, one of the best frostbite clinics in the world, by the way, Scott's like, "Hey, yeah, those are my mittens," and he asked for them back. So, through gestures and a little bit of French, a little bit of English, the guy was like, "Oh yeah." So he pulls the mitten off, and from the second knuckle is all his fingers come off. And Scott's like, "Oh shit," because they'd been frozen and then warmed. And everything they've been frozen for so long, everything they're just fucking destroyed. So those guys lost fingers all the way to the palm of the hand. One of them lost 9 of 10 toes, to this. And that, I don't know. This is one of the, apart from work with the military, this is one of my proudest moments that A, we were able to get them off. B, participate in this thing. Like nobody had landed. I think the highest landing at that point was right around 18,000 feet with that bird. Nobody knew if it was possible.
Right.
What was going to happen. And those guys were total studs. And then, anyway, then we were in Talkeetna, of course, go to the bar, the tab is on the Park Service for us. I proceeded to get pretty fucking hammered and speak my mind. I get into it in this bar, the Fairview, with the superintendent. Tell him like that guy's death is on your hands. You made a shit decision. You had all the assets in place and blah, blah, blah. And I was probably, just frothing at the mouth, spitting on him while I'm doing this. The whole bar is fucking silent at this point and listening to all of this. Eventually that dude's like, he's like a Gavin Newsom kind of dude. Basically, water off a duck's back, doesn't hear a word of it, blah, blah, blah. You guys have a great night, and he leaves. A couple of guys who work for the Park Service come up and they're just like, "Hey man, thank you for saying what we can't say." But that was total bullshit that dude took over when we have someone, the chief climbing ranger
that actually
down here that knows and has worked with air ops and, all of this stuff and has been on the mountain.
Would make the right call.
Would make the right call.
Gotcha.
So to make a short story long, there it is.
That's incredible.